Welcome back to another episode of the Astrology Magic Podcast, where we talk about astrology in a way that helps you make magic in your life. And I'm your host, Rachel Veritimos. Pleased to meet you.
Can't believe you brought that out. Guys, we were straight goofballing before we hit record, so you're going to have to excuse the fact that we're still very much in goofball mentality here, okay? So prepare your curiosity caps for some goofballing.
Yeah. So this is Ryan. He's been on the last couple of episodes. Ryan, introduce yourself, please.
All right, guys. So my government name is Ryan Sprague. And for those that don't know me, I'm the cannabis coach. I do a lot of stuff. It's always weird to put condition on any aspect of my life. Cause I'm like, I do a lot of different things and I'm kind of I don't know. I like to touch a lot of different things, a lot of different buttons at once. Ooh, she didn't silence her phone, guys.
Stupid spam caller.
I know. Well, I learned the other day how you can actually make money off those scam callers. Now I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting for him to call. But regardless, guys, I'm super excited to be here. Rach and I love doing these shows together. For those that don't know, I have a couple podcasts of my own, but I've been on a hiatus for a couple of months now, just letting stuff settle. This winter was really awesome in many different ways. And when Rachel asked me, like, hey, do you want to do a podcast like a few weeks ago? I was like, yeah, I feel like I missed that. I'm not ready to start my own again yet. But I really enjoy podcasting. And so then she had put out a thing at the end, like, do you want to see Ryan again? And a couple of people were like, sure. So here I am.
That's the story. And that's how Ryan was born and was allowed back on.
Oh, and I forgot I was cesarean birth. Now you guys know everything. All right.
Yeah.
Fill in the gaps.
So not Aaron. Why did I just say that? Ryan. It's because I was about to cross Pierre. Pierre, this is not okay.
He's got no chill. Give that dog some weed. Just kidding, guys.
Here, please chill.
Please. Let him out. We can.
Okay.
You got your shit together, Pierre? Okay.
Get your shit together, Pierre. Okay.
Pierre, we're doing something serious. All right. Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
So, Ryan is an Aries. It was just his birthday, and I thought we would talk about the energy we're moving into this week because a lot of planets are in Aries. We're in mid-Aries season right now. And especially with Pluto and Aquarius over these next 20 years, we're in this like death and rebirth of becoming our authentic selves and getting so authentic and not doing things because we want people to like us, but just doing things because it's who we are. And Aries is the other sign, like other than Aquarius. Aries is a sign that is so itself because it's just all about itself. All it thinks about is what it wants, who it is. Aries, it's selfish in a good way, right? Like we could be selflessly selfish. We have to be like what I've been really learning, especially the past year, which we'll talk about, is I've been learning that the more boundaries I have and the more I act in a way that I used to think was mean or selfish, the more I've actually been able to feel love for other people. So that's why Aries is such a beautiful sign, because Aries can feel a lot of love for other people when it puts itself first. And really, that's for all of us. We all have Aries in our chart. Aries starts the zodiac wheel. So with all of these planets in Aries, and they're going to be meeting up with Saturn this week, the energy is asking us to start to put some definition around who we are and how we want to assert ourselves, how we want to lead our life, because Mars, which rules Aries, is going to move into Aries, its home sign. So Mars is the planet of how we lead ourselves, how we assert ourselves, how we use our willpower to go after our desires and defend ourselves or defend the people we love. Aries is also about war, Aries will go freaking hard and you won't stop it. They want to win no matter the cost, for good or for bad, depending on where you are in the Aries spectrum.
If he dies, he dies.
There you go.
That's a Rocky reference. You wouldn't get that, but someone's going to laugh at that, all right? Whoever you are, reach out to me.
So. What's interesting about this week is, like I said, all these planets are moving into Aries. We're going to have to redefine ourselves. There's going to be moments of having to assert new boundaries for yourself so that you can feel good. But also we have Venus in her home sign of Taurus this week. And it's kind of funny because Ryan also has his natal Venus in Taurus. So he's an Aries sun and he's a Taurus Venus. It's kind of perfect. But with Venus and Taurus, that's giving us the ability to really get clear on what makes us feel comfortable, what we genuinely value, what makes our body feel safe. Taurus rules the body. And Taurus digs its heels in because whenever it like comes to a way of being, or makes a decision or believes something, it's because it's gotten there from total embodiment. They're not just thinking about it, their body feels it. Their body is moving with how they move through the world. So if we're thinking about like growing up, what stopped us from being ourselves, it's not feeling worthy to be ourselves, feeling like our value would come from shape shifting, from molding, from trying to be a certain way in which we were conditioned so that we can get what we want, which is also Venus. But this week is asking us to redefine how we get what we want by being more ourselves. And Venus naturally receives when it's itself. Taurus doesn't have to do anything to receive. Taurus is a hard worker, but it understands that when it treats itself valuable and it sticks to its values and builds its life around its values and standards, that life will come to meet it. And with all this Aries energy, we're giving the bravery to step into more of who we are. So the Taurus side of us could dig our heels in and be like, no, this is who I am. Life, come meet me. Come meet me where I'm at. So, me and Ryan thought we would talk about today what's been helpful on our journey to becoming more authentic and maybe share some of our experiences to give you inspiration, motivation, maybe just like permission, because I know it's always helpful to me when I hear someone is like their authentic self. How did you do it? Like, what scary things did you do? What was helpful to you? So I thought we could share a little about that on the podcast.
I love that. And, what I'll say based on what you just described is that I resonate with that from a very early age. And I think the challenge is that I didn't even know this was a thing for many years. I mean, arguably, even when I met you, although I had been doing inner work, I had looked into astrology, not that much by any means, but a little bit. I had looked a little bit into human design, maybe a tiny microdose into Gene Keys. But I was aware of Paul Chek. I was aware of a lot of these people out there that are now, personal friends of mine, but also idols to me. And, again, like from a very early age, I felt as though I had to get my way through not coercion, but in a way type, coercion, like finding ways to get my way without kind of telling people what I really wanted. And, again, like I just thought that was the way life was. That's how I saw my parents go about it as well. My dad was also an Aries. My mom's a Sagittarius. So a lot of fire, a lot of like, I'm going to fit this square peg into this round hole no matter what. And so growing up, I had a lot of these, victim mentality around, things of, why can't I just be who I am? But I didn't even really know who I was yet. And it was multifaceted. Like, we're going to talk to you guys for maybe an hour today, 45 minutes, an hour. I could literally talk about this for years, arguably, because it took me years. And at the same time, for anyone who hears that and like me in the past would think like, oh my God, it's going to take so long. It's like, yeah, but what else are you doing? Waking up and not focusing on this stuff, like why not? Eventually you'll just wake up and you'll feel authentic and you'll feel like yourself and you'll feel magnetic. And for me, the last 6 years have been like a potentiating container for this type of stuff. And I think the thing that has helped me more than anything is not being afraid to realize in hindsight that I also still wasn't authentic. Like, I think just saying fuck it with all this planning or like even looking into stuff so much, because I used to, from a place of anxiety, be like, how do I make sure that I, in 10 years, I can look back and still feel like I was authentic on that podcast or whatever. And the more I thought into it, the more confusing it got, the more that I wanted to like stop the brakes and kind of be like, all right, let me really think about this. But the best way out is through. Or as Joseph Campbell states, the cave you fear most to enter holds the treasure you seek. And so for me, I had to be willing to not only go out there in business and make some quote unquote mistakes, which there are none, but realize after like, oh man, maybe I didn't even understand what my boundary was there. And now I'm a man of my word. So I'm going to stick with it. And I'm also going to stick with it because if I don't, then I have the opportunity to do this again, because I wanted to feel the pain of when I overstepped my own boundaries. Like, perfect example, when I first came out with the Conscious Cannabis Collective, it was my first community that I came out with. I had an 8-week program before that called Connect with Cannabis, which then became a 10-week program. And then I joined some masterminds and I was like, I like this format. Like, I don't want to be like doing these 8 to 10-week programs anymore. I want to do like this community centric stuff. And so I remember talking to my business partner at the time. We were talking about like, hey, there's a lot of people from other countries that follow us and have bought our other products. And so somehow, some way, I decided I have to do 7 calls a week in this community, because I need to make sure that I am making myself available for the people in different time zones. We also did a guest presenter every week that I'd have a friend come in. Rachel, you came in there one time. All my friends, anyone that people would know with me, Chris August, Mark England, any of the people came in there and did guest presenters. So it sounded great in theory, like, hey, I'm really going to be able to make sure every single person has an available time to get in this call. But what I realized, the first thing I realized was that now I was doing 7 calls where like 3 to 4 people max would show up to every call, right? So like it was really just a complete inefficiency of time. And I had promised that. I had promised it. It was part of the offer. So I knew at that point, I'm not going to be out of integrity and be like, sorry, guys, I can't do this. I'm going to stick with it with the full amount of time commitment that I had given these people they paid me for, which was for a year. So I did this for an entire year and it fucking stung. But because I allowed it to sting, I never will make that mistake again. What I learned during that in hindsight, and this is again in 2023, I think 2023, I created the CCC. So this is now 3 years later. And what I've realized is that I had the power inverted, right? Like, for instance, when we did courses with other people, like Paul Check, for instance, or Mark England, they weren't worried about making sure they were available for everyone. They were like, you guys are adults. If you're in Australia, I'm not from Australia. You're going to have to wake up super early or late at night and make that work for yourself. Sorry, it is what it is. I'm not going to bend my own life to fit yours. If you're meant to be here and you're meant to be here, then you'll be here. If not, then you won't. And so again, after that first year in the CCC, I went down to 2 calls per week. And what that also gave me room for now is that now if I had a week where I had more energy and I genuinely wanted to throw a bonus call in there, I could do it. And now the people in there would be like, whoa, I'm getting even more than I paid for. And so that's just a very logical example of how this has played out in my life. But one of the things I'll say to wrap this up is that, to really double down on this, like, you're not going to know until you just fire and then you figure it out after. You fuck around, you find out. That's how it worked for me. Because when you realize a stove is hot, if you're just looking at a stove and you're like, that seems hot, you're always going to wonder how hot it really is. If you just go over and touch that fucking thing and you're like, oh yeah, I just got a 1st-degree burn, never going to touch that stove again now. And so that's been my method, is like, don't be afraid to let it get messy. And that's a very similar method or strategy that we have in our relationship. If one of us is mad, we don't try to, be enlightened and, well, when you say that, it makes me feel this. Like, if we naturally feel like talking like that, then sure. But sometimes we'll be like, oh, you're fucking pissing me off and whatever.
No, we
Don't
let
be
it
afraid
get
to let
messy.
it get messy.
I think
Yeah.
getting messy is the messier you make your life, the more you can find what's true for you. And that's like what Ryan is saying is the perfect depiction of this week, because that's what Aries energy does. It doesn't think, it just acts. It just acts on instinct, pure willpower. It's just like, well, let me try. Like, that's why it's the brave adventure. It's paving new trails. It's like, well, we have to go down this trail to find out if it's even a viable trail. And so there's an energy this week that's asking people to take a risk, asking people to act so that they can find who they are within those boundaries. That's Saturn and Aries. And that's why Saturn and Aries can be a very challenging transit, and even like having it as your natal Saturn, because it can make people either be very blocked to start anything and then not explore and not figure out what's right for them and what's true for them. But it can also make people like feel impatient and just keep taking action and just want it all now and keep going. But then it's like not taking the right action because it's not always slowing down enough to feel into intuitively what feels true too. But then also Saturn and Aries like shapes us and molds us through making those mistakes. And so with Saturn, The South Node's in Virgo right now. Virgo, in the shadow side, on the South Node, we're always purging shadows of the sign. A shadow of Virgo is over perfectionism and trying to control the path there through perfectionism. So if you're trying to get every action right and perfect, we're shedding a lot of that shit right now. We have to build a new world. You're not going to know. So you can intuit and you can feel and slow down and like connect to yourself, but then take a risk. That's what I'm feeling is happening this week, because we also have Uranus and Taurus back at the 20th degree. So it's at the final degree again, which means it's not going to be back in Taurus probably in our lifetimes, unless you're like a baby child right now, then it might come back around. But when Uranus, like with Uranus and Taurus, it's shaking up our self-worth, what we value, what we embody in our life. And it's in a sextile to Mars and Pisces before Mars moves into Aries. And Pisces is where we act out of fear, where we act out of conditioning that sabotages us, where we want to just, with it being in Mars, it's just taking action because we want to get there already. And just being reactionary instead of like also like slowing down and being like, I'm gonna take a risk, but like this is a risk that I've sat with. It feels right. It might not be the end all be all, but I'm gonna go for it. So there's like a balance there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just wanted to say real quick to give a real world example of what you're talking about. I used to be on the other polarity of, like, for instance, with guitar. I might have talked about my guitar story in another podcast we did, but I'll just very quickly go over it. Played guitar for a long time as a kid, played with a certain guy who was really good, and so it helped me get really good. And he knew how to record music. I didn't. I had a lot of limiting beliefs. We ended up kind of parting ways when I was around 19, and to learn how to record music, wanted to keep learning guitar, but I just didn't know where to start. And so then it almost felt like, 5 years blinked by and I was still at the same spot. So that's an example of the polarity of like I don't know if I want to take risks yet. Like, I don't know where this is going to go. Let me just keep thinking into it. It'll work out. That usually, I mean, I have friends that when I first started Highly Optimized were like, oh man, like, I'm just going to wait another year and then I'll get started when I have this, and this figured out. And guess what? They haven't done anything. Now, again, I was also that person. So that's why I can spot that so well, because if you spot it, you got it. It's an infuriating part of life. But on the other side, I also went to the polarity where I was taking some risks without even thinking into them and then realizing, oh, that was kind of silly. And so what Rachel's saying is exactly accurate. Like, everything in life is about balance and, seeing like a certain thing you might want to do. But then just like, if you were going to, do a workout, right? It's kind of like, all right, well, I'm not just going to go in there and throw weights around. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to activate the certain muscles. I'm going to figure out what muscles I'm going to work out. I'm going to activate them to make sure I don't get injured. And then from there, maybe I have a little bit of spontaneity in what I do based on the body parts I'm going to work out that day. So I just wanted to throw that in as like a real world example.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. So it's a really great week to sit with yourself, to take less content in. I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so maybe after
and
this
we thank you.
Yeah, we thank you. But maybe after this podcast, like, tune out the noise this week. Like, really sit in, and there could be something that you've been thinking about starting. And again, it's about just take messy action. But also, like, so we're not just talking about goals. This week isn't just about like taking messy action on goals. This week is also like taking messy action on being yourself. And if I think about even what I practice, Ryan's witnessed this, what I've practiced the last year, how I have always had like a really tight throat and chest and had a lot of like social anxiety around people, no matter how much healing I did. And so I remember at the Virgo lunar eclipse a year ago, the sun was on my natal Lilith, and I said to myself, this is my time to start owning the bitch inside me, the bitch that I never let myself own. And I just wanted to see if me asserting myself and leading myself a new way that's very Aries coded would heal something in me over time. And I remember I told Ryan that I was like practicing just being rude. Like, sometimes, because Aries is the sign of identity, and I actually found through this past year that by trying on different identities, what it did was prove to my body that it was safe to be that identity the more I tried it on. And then, like, my life was just fine. Like, my life didn't change by me trying it on. If anything, a year later, I've tried on so many identities the past year. I've been the bitch, I've been the quiet girl, you know, I've been like the light joking one. It's almost like it's allowed me to be all of me in so many different sides of me, because before this past year, I had a story that if I wanted people to like me, I had to be like social and like not let silence in a conversation and like be super bubbly and like all these different things, right? That's how Ryan first met me. He met me when I was like forcing a lot of the charisma. I was like, ah! Like it was partly me, obviously, but there was forced charisma. There was performance there. And I still had it up until a year ago, I'd say. And so this past year, I've just been like practicing all these different personalities. And at Ryan's retreat, well, Ryan could even say this, I felt more me, and Ryan has told me that I seemed more me out of the 9 years he has known me. I felt more me around a group of people than I'd ever felt in my life. And it's because at Ryan's retreat, after trying on all these personalities the last year, being the bitch, being the quiet girl, it's like they all integrated at the retreat where I just let myself be whatever I wanted to be in any moment. And what I felt like, I actually connected deeper with people because I could feel more love for people because I wasn't overextending myself for them or feeling like I had to perform for them, which created this invisible wall between us. Because when you're performing charisma or performing being nice, it creates an invisible wall between you and the other person. You're not being your realest self. And, and so it could even be this week, maybe you're just practicing trying on a new identity that you were told was really dangerous growing up. And just
Not
show,
the murderer identity, guys. Okay,
yeah,
I know
maybe
where your
not that,
minds are
not the
going.
murder identity.
Rachel and Ryan told me I could be a murderer and it'd be
But
fine.
but
It's just
but I'm
part of
just
my authentic self.
yeah. But I'm just thinking about like Uranus and Taurus. Taurus rules the body. Like Taurus only changes through the body only changes through consistent experience. And so if we think that being a bitch is gonna tear our whole world down, then our body could be like freaking out and almost like close up at the sign of you having to be like consciously a bitch in one moment. Like it's like you're having to choose to go against. This is how it felt for me. I had to consciously choose to act in a way that I thought might be really mean, hurt someone's feelings. Like I didn't say anything mean, but to me that was like someone says something to me and I just stay silent and don't say anything. Like that's what my brain told me was mean.
You know what it feels like? It feels like I grew up having a lot of cats. Right, Pierre's my first little puppy, and I love him. But I grew up having a lot of cats, and there would be this funny thing that if I tried to pet them the wrong way, the feeling that would come into me is like, I don't do that to them, right? Like that feeling, even though obviously it's not hurting them, it's just uncomfortable probably. But that feeling of getting pet the wrong way, it's kind of strange when you say it like that. But the feeling of getting pet the wrong way is what that feeling feels like Rachel's saying. And I'll give you an example real quick from my life, and then I'll tell you what I experienced watching you, Ray, at the retreat as well to bring it home for people. So I had tendencies of people pleasing, and I won't get into the root cause of whatever. I just have people pleasing tendencies. And so I worked with this coach, Angelo, who the reason I worked with him is because I knew it would be probably the most challenging coach I could possibly work with in terms of like not being able to do an excuse for fucking anything. Someone that would call me out the second they smelled me playing small, and not in a nice way, but in a kind way. Like, hey, why are you being such a fucking bitch right now? Like things like that. We're like, I needed that. I
Not
did need
nice,
that
but
because,
super kind.
yeah, I mean, no,
No,
because it
I
was
mean,
kind.
period.
Like, it
For
was kind because honestly, it's what no one else would tell me, but it's what I really needed to hear. Like,
loving.
exactly. Like
That's
no
love.
one no one actually cares, right? Like, and so at the end of the day, there was this individual I was going to reach out to, and this individual and he was a prominent individual, the first one I ever connected with on my podcast, and it was like, oh my god, like another level of like I just got that guy on. And so at the end of the podcast, this gentleman told me like, dude, when you come out to Cali, let me know. We'll go like shoot some guns. I'll let you drive my McLaren. I was like, sweet. And so I go out to California, I don't know, a couple months later, and we're staying with Angelo and his family. And I had reached out to this individual on the way out there, and I was like, hey, I'm coming out to Cali. I know you mentioned hanging out. Like, would love to still do that. Let me know if you'll be around. And then I didn't hear anything from him. So, like, day 2 of being in Cali, Angelo asks me, like, brother, did you reach out to him? and because he had a really deep, like mob boss type voice. And I was like, yeah, I reached out to him. He hasn't got back to me yet. I don't want to be annoying, dude. And he stopped me right there and he was like, bro, he was like, if you're being fucking annoying and someone doesn't tell you right to your face, you're being fucking annoying, whose fucking fault is that? And it helped me realize, like, oh yeah, I'm putting my, like, the responsibility of me being annoying into myself, when in reality, if this individual is the man he says he is and I'm being annoying, he should just be able to tell me, hey, stop being so annoying, I'll hit you up when I'm ready. And that would also tell me, like, okay, cool, now I know your boundary. So that's one example. There was also another example as well I was going to bring up that was also with Angelo. I forget exactly what it is now, but regardless, that one does it well enough for now. What I saw with Rachel at the retreat is that typically, like if it were me, okay, like the example I just gave, and like Rachel was talking about with these different parts of her, like sometimes she doesn't want to talk, right? But in her head, she would think, like, oh, what are people going to think of me if, I say I don't want to talk? Are they going to get hurt? Are they going to feel anxious? Like what's going to happen with them? And I know this pattern well because I learned it through a close family member. It's called emotional slavery, expecting that other people's emotions are our responsibility. But at the end of the day, it's almost like Terrence McKenna says, when you hurl yourself into the abyss, you are met with a feather bed. You think you're going to fall and get impaled on rocks, and it's really just a feather bed waiting for you. Because at the end of the day, guys, just let's be honest, we're mostly focused on our own lives. Okay. Like we think that people are going to notice all these things. People are in their own worlds most of the time. And if you just own the frame, people are just going to say, okay, cool. Thanks for telling me. But regardless, Rachel's had this fear around, what if I'm not the talker? Like, what if I, start to feel my neck or chest get tight and I want to stop talking in the middle of a conversation? Is that going to upset someone? And actually, it was the complete opposite. So this was happening where Rachel was talking to someone, everything was going great. And then she started to feel her throat get tight and her chest get tight. And she mentioned, like, hey, I'm kind of done talking right now. And then she explained, like, this is a new thing I'm working on. And when I get this tightness, like, I like to tell people. And this person was totally fine with it. Not only that, but they were like, wow, that actually gave me a lot of permission. They might not have said it that exact way, but like, they were like, oh, thank you for telling, like, I can just do that.
When I was at the group table with you guys, it was actually all of you,
Yeah.
Zipporah, Brian,
Yeah.
and
11. And
Levin.
Will.
Yeah, and Will. And we were getting to a point where I was just my throat, I was just like, I talked to you guys too much all day and I needed it to stop. And then we were going around the circle giving a share because it was Ryan's birthday. And I gave like a 2-second share and I was like, listen, no, I need to not talk. And please, I don't want to talk until I want to talk again. And like that was like huge for me. But I also realized the benefit of communicating that too.
And you know what the reaction was? It was like, oh, cool. Anyway. And then we just kept talking with each other. Like, it was like that big of a deal.
They were
And
appreciative that I said that. Because
yeah.
because before, sometimes I just stop talking and I don't say anything and I look kind of autistic or I mean, it is kind of like a neurodivergent thing I do, I think.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
start
And it's
thinking
fine.
out.
Like, no one cares. And when you can share that, it does two things. One, it keeps you in integrity with yourself, which is most important.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, if anyone around you does get offended, it makes it mean something about them. It's their work to do. It has nothing to do with you. And number three, if you're around high level people that are okay with honesty, it just allows them to know exactly where you're at. And now there's no ambiguity. There's no vagueness. There's no like, why did Rachel like, like most people just want the truth. At the end of the day, if you're around real high level people, they'll appreciate if you're just like, hey man, I want to go to bed right now. Okay, cool.
But I also want to say, here's the thing too. Like this week is about being your authentic self, and like I will tell people sometimes if I don't want to talk, but I'm not going to tell people all the time. Sometimes I really don't want to talk and I don't even want to have to explain that to someone, and I think that's okay too. I feel like this week is just about simplifying and being you and like letting people be responsible for their own shit. Yeah, that's what I want to encourage people to do this week, is like try on a new thing for yourself. Try setting a new boundary. Try being a little ruder. Try it, like, if that feels right. Try not responding to someone if you always feel like you have to respond to someone. Try different things, take risks.
I remember the other story I was going to tell now.
Okay.
So one of the things that Angela had me do was, he was like, brother, I don't care if Rachel asks you to have sex. I don't care if someone asks you to go to a free dinner. You say no to everything for the next 24 hours. And, because I was very good at saying yes,
Oh,
but I wasn't that good at having.
this is a great practice people could
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my buddy Brandon Thomas has a statement that says no is a complete sentence. And so, again, like, try that on. If that resonates, if right now you're like, ooh, that would be hard. All right, it's probably going to be good medicine for you. Okay. I don't know for sure, but I think it really helps to just practice saying no to people because again, like think about it. If you are in integrity with yourself, then number one, you can stare yourself in the mirror at the end of the night and be proud of yourself, which is so important. Number two, though, let's say that you say no to someone and they come up with some story. Ryan's an asshole, or I guess Ryan doesn't like me, or whatever. That's their work to do. Has nothing to do with you. What you just gave them
Yeah,
the
not in an
opportunity
asshole
for.
way where you just are going around trying to hurt everyone's
Yeah,
feelings.
no, you're not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But imagine if someone's like, "Hey, come to this bar. Come on, let's go," and you're like, "No, I don't want to go." And they're like, "Oh man, you used to be so much more fun." Blah 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 blah. Cool, whatever, right? Like you don't have to take on other people's stories as if they are true about you. For instance, if someone's going to spin that story, well, the opportunity you gave them is to ask themselves why they need to make themselves the victim and someone else the perpetrator when someone just simply says no to them. Now, again, you have no control over whether or not they're going to do that work, but it's not your monkey and not your circus at the end of the day. So, again, like we aren't responsible for other people's emotions and their responses towards us. And our response to other people's boundaries and no says everything about us and nothing about them. Like if Rachel says, "Hey, I don't want to do that thing we were going to do," I'm like, "Cool, whatever. I'll reach out to a friend or whatever." I get it. But if for any reason I was like, "Oh, I guess she doesn't love me more anymore," whatever, that would be my work to do. And what do most people do? They then actually try to make it the other person's fault. Well, you did this thing, and when you did that, I felt this. It's like, cool. Seems like you have some work to do on why you felt that. It has nothing to do with me. I have no idea what that is. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
So your biggest work to do this week is to start to set the boundaries around your life, around the things that drain you, that you thought you had to do, and be so you. Like I just shared this on Instagram. I've been telling Ryan I'm in my voice note era. I don't want to go on a phone call with anyone anymore. The only podcast I will do with anyone is Ryan, and he's the only person I will talk to on the phone if he calls me. Not because I don't love anyone. I love every single person on this planet, but I don't like to talk on the phone. And so that's my new boundary this week. There's boundaries that you get to set this week for the rest of your life, and you don't have to feel bad about it. This is how we're all going to actually love each other more and come into deeper connection with each other. And it's actually going to do the opposite of what I think a lot of people are afraid of, which I think a lot of people are so afraid of losing love when they be their authentic self, thinking people are going to think they're a bitch or mean or whatever. But what I've actually witnessed is I love people more and I feel more magnetic now too.
And let me ask you this, Ray. This is a question that I think you'll get the answer for because you're the one that says this more often than me, but I do believe it. What is love?
Truth. Truth.
Exactly. It's truth. And that's the truth, guys. Straight up. Think about it, right? Imagine that you've been broken up with or you've broken up with someone. On either side of that fence, let's handle getting broken up with first. All right. So I've had girlfriends break up with me before, and some of them sat down with me and were like, listen, I'm just not feeling it anymore. Like I'm grateful for the time we had together, but I'm not feeling it anymore. And yeah, that hurt. But you know what? It didn't haunt me because they were honest with me. Even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear, I was appreciative of it. Versus on the other side, I've had some experiences where I don't realize I'm getting broken up with. All of a sudden, I'm like, why are you being weird? And it's like, oh, I didn't want to do this here. I'm like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then it's kind of just like through an Instagram message and then it's gone. Or Facebook, I
That's
guess.
way worse. That's not love.
Exactly. It might feel a little bit better to you if you're on that end, like you're the one doing it at first, if you're like not aware of what love really is. But I think as you get older, those things will haunt you. Like I remember on the other side, there were women that I've been with that I sat down with and was like, hey, sorry, I'm just not feeling it. And there were also times where I felt really bad. I didn't want to hurt them. So I end up hurting them even more by just kind of like trying to get space from them. And like in hindsight, I'm like, golly, dude, like, because I've been on both ends of it. It's like, yeah, it might sting more right off the bat, but it's like ripping the band-aid off. You can have closure. And so again, like imagine you have a partner right now, and maybe it's not breaking up, but maybe there's some truth you haven't spoken. Like, hey, you know what? Like, having some me time in the morning is really important. Or, hey, like having a clean kitchen is really important to me. And maybe you've been like, they're working really hard. Like they're doing a lot for me. Like, I don't want to bug them. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think if that partner really loves you, they'd want you to tell you that because it will bring you closer together. Think about it.
And it doesn't mean the partner, once you tell them that, now has to be perfectly keeping the kitchen clean all the time. They're
Yeah,
just going to do their best. We're in a relationship with each other. We're not here to
yeah,
control and contort one another. And
exactly.
actually, the less you try to control and contort someone else, but you just state your own boundaries and what feels good to you, the more you don't control and contort yourself.
Yeah.
It's actually, people think that it's going to make them sadder to not be able to change someone else or control or make someone act different, but it's going to make you feel better when you take that power back because now you don't have to change.
Because it's really not about the clean kitchen. It's about you speaking your truth about what you feel. And that will make you feel, because again, like Rachel's saying, you can't control anyone. But at the end of the day,
To Ryan that I like a clean kitchen, and so he puts that intention, and he will clean the kitchen sometimes. There's plenty of times still the kitchen's filthy, but I don't expect him to be perfect. Again, Virgo's on the south node. We're shedding the perfectionism. I've spoken my truth. He knows my truth, and I know he's trying, but I'm not gonna. But but that wouldn't be loving to force him.
right,
Like
100%.
that's not how we've cultivated love. We've cultivated love through genuinely allowing each other to be ourselves and genuinely telling each other our deepest truths. Like Ryan knows the deepest, darkest secret I genuinely thought I would never tell anyone, but Ryan knows it. And none of you are going to know it, okay? Only Ryan.
I'm going to say it. Rachel's secretly a sumo wrestler in Japan,
Yeah,
okay? You would
that's it.
never guess it. All right. She's got to wear a fat suit and everything, but she's a really good sumo wrestler. All right. She's world champion. Yeah. Probably not even Japan. Someone's going to be like, that's not Japan. I'm sorry, guys. All right. I'm doing my
No, we're
best to
going to
channel my Asian
Japan.
knowledge. All right.
We're going to
Yeah.
Japan.
We're going to Japan. That was literally the other night. We watched this couple on YouTube that we watch sometimes, Kara and Nate, because Rachel said, no way to a second Sasquatch documentary in 2 days. All right. She was like, I was like, meanwhile, I'm like full on talking to Eddie Madden about like, dude, we got to put a guys trip together to BC, bro, and go up there and like hang out with the Sasquatch. Rachel's like, what the fuck is happening in my man right now? It's like, I swear to God, for any woman listening to this, your guy, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, we're all like 8 years old inside. All right. And the way you can tell if you're in your alignment as a woman is if your guy can hold down the fucking shit and be a man, but also he's not afraid to be a kid in like a beautiful way. I'm not talking about playing video games all day and not paying bills. Okay. That's the low expression of this, but I'm talking about, like if I feel really childlike, a lot of it is because I feel held by Rachel's feminine, again, it's beautiful. So I just want to throw that in there. But, at the end of the day, you know, being able to be in this type of relationship where you just say the thing when you feel it is so freeing. And I think that's all what we really want. Like we all kind of edge ourselves, at least for me and the people I've worked with and helped with this. We're all edging ourselves like, God, we just want to be fucking honest with each other. And I think that's why Molly feels so good because you kind of don't have the ability for anyone to feel bad about anything you say. But really, it's just you get to be honest. You get to be like, the first time I met you, I didn't know if I liked you. And your friend's like, oh my God, dude, I totally loved you the first time I met you. You're like, great, great. Like it's just that's the freeing part of it. Think about it, guys. If you love MDMA, it's because you love being in truth with yourself and you can do it with no drugs necessary. That can be good training wheels, all right, to realize you can say hard things and the world won't blow up. But at the end of the day, you can't be on medicine all the time. All right. We know what happens then. So,
Truth will
again,
bring
like,
you to a life that feels like Molly. I can say that from being in a relationship with Ryan, me and him have never gotten deeper into our truth than with each other. And I feel like it's made life feel like we're on Molly all the time.
feels like I'm rolling balls all the time hanging out with you. It's so
Yeah.
fun. Like I was telling Ray, I don't know if it was sometime in the last couple of months, but I'm not a huge fan of winter, guys. Okay. I'm a tank top and shorts guy. Sans even tank top. I just like to be in short shorts and that's it. I like to be tan as a motherfucker. I like to go to the beach. So the winter has never been an easy thing for me. And typically, the last 5 years, we've been traveling a lot during the winter, getting our vitamin D in when we can and whatever. And this year, I just kind of got to a point after we traveled in November to go see Aubrey when I was like, dude, I don't want to do any travel. Like, I am PTSD'd from traveling the past 5 years. I hate airplanes. I hate airports. I hate the whole thing. It's just like I'm so annoyed with it. I can't wait to be rich so I never have to fly fucking public again. It's such a nuisance. They're like, oh, the government shut down. It's like, wait, aren't we still paying taxes? Yeah, but like, just make it make sense, all right? And we're not going to explain it to you. It's like, none of this makes any sense. So anyway, we stayed home all winter. And I remember there were times where I would come in my office and you and I would be playing with Pierre, doing the thing to him, which makes our dog freak the fuck out. I don't know what kind of trauma he has around that sound,
It's
but
the raspberry
something.
sound. She didn't even.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't do it because right now he'll go fucking insane in Rachel's office if we do it. But anyway, he's got a bone to pick with people that make the raspberry sound. Put it that way. And so we'll play with him in the morning and make him run around and go crazy and jump on us or whatever. Then we'll cuddle him and then we'll make our coffees and we'll talk a little bit and then we'll go into our offices. I'll play guitar. I'll hear Rachel like on the treadmill or sometimes singing or whatever. And there's times where like the snow was coming down outside. It was so quiet. I'm sitting here like all hopped up on Correct Life, like fucking building courses and whatever. And I'm having a fucking blast. Like for someone that was a night owl that loved going to clubs and everything, which, again, I still have that part of me. But it was like, dude, it's never been simpler and easier to tap into an extremely amazing high than it was or has been since this winter, where I'm just looking around. And I think what it was for me anyway, and I don't know if you felt this way, you're a Taurus, so you're probably just better at this than I am overall. But as an Aries, I can stay very sped up. And I enjoy that. And also, I've been working for the past 6 years to build this beautiful reality. And I think this winter was the first time in a long time I kind of just looked up and was like, oh shit, I'm fucking here. I did it. Like I let the metaphorical snow globe that was my life settle for long enough that I realized I really like the fucking image inside of the snow globe now. And there was a long time in my life where I didn't. And I felt powerless to change it. I thought it was just happening to me. And so to wake up like that and to realize like, holy shit, dude, if the world would end right now, fucking huge success this life was, was an incredible feeling. And I feel like since then, I've just felt like I'm rolling ever since. It's amazing. So thank you, Ray and Pierre
And
and you guys.
thank you, Bay, and thank everyone. So that feeling Ryan's talking about, do all the things that we talked about that's in the astrology this week. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. I feel like we can end it there. And
Yeah.
if you want to track your lunar return, like I love to track my lunar return, I will put my certainty oracle, the link for that, down in the show notes. And do you want to share where they can find you again?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at the real Ryan Sprague. Feel free to reach out to me, guys. If you can't tell by now, I thoroughly enjoy talking. So feel free to reach out, send me a voice note. You're getting a voice note back, all right? So be prepared. If you want to check out anything I do, it's all in the link in my bio. And what I would say with regards to what we talked about is, again, like, because I've realized this really helps me. And so maybe it helps some of you. I can set these very big goals for myself. Like, let's say you're listening to this podcast and maybe you have a very uncomfortable conversation that you've been putting off, or maybe you want to switch jobs and like these big things, right? And maybe right now you're feeling a lot of pressure, being like, oh fuck, I got to do that thing. Well, maybe, but also like be kind to yourself. Like maybe start with something small. Like maybe when this is like a very small thing, but let's say that like you've told yourself you're going to cut back on coffee, and maybe you're out at breakfast tomorrow and the person comes around, would you like more coffee? And they go to pour it in, and typically be like, oh, sure, I'll whatever. Just practice being like, no, thank you. You just practice little things. The more you do the little things, before you know it, whatever you can stay consistent in and you start getting momentum going, now you're going to have more and more confidence. So again, like you don't have to handle the big thing right at the bat. If you're a Sendero and you want to try that, more power to you. But if you're someone like me who maybe creates these big lofty goals and then gets really scared of them, bite off a little bit by little bit. Can you do it once per day? Can you do it in the smallest way per day? Can you let your partner know, like, hey, I want to go to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight? Is that cool with you? Like maybe you guys have a wind down routine. This is something Rachel and I went through. And, one thing I found about just that Is like at first she was like, no, I don't want to go to bed early. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go to bed earlier. And then I start packing up for bed and she's like, all right, I'll go to bed. So again, like, and I didn't care if she came with me. It wasn't about that. I was like, no, you do whatever you want, live your life. I don't want to, put boundaries on your life just because I feel something. But a lot of times, I'll fall into things like she'll set a boundary. And at first I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, that boundary is actually really cool. I'm going to take that on too. So don't be surprised if, when you start saying no to things that you said yes to, if people don't start noticing and maybe they start picking up on these things and you can inspire them to start doing the same thing. So a little goes a long way, guys. We love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day. Sending all the love from the Sprague Veritimos little wee wee Pierre household. And till next time, journey well, my friends.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.